Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the fifth year of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. I cannot believe remotely that this show has been going on for 5 freaking years. This is amazing. And I tell you what, we're starting the year off with a banger of a guest. Somebody that I didn't realize was a cousin of mine until probably we were just talking about until probably probably about 20 years ago. When I remember my Aunt Judy and my mom talking about how they were going to like meet up with Jeff in Tennessee at some event or something, or watch a show or do something with them. And then I texted him out of the blue. You don't even want to understand how much I had to pay him to get him on. But I tell you what though, I'm hoping that we can work this into a joke and I maybe get some royalties out of it. But no, everybody, thank you so much. 5 years, people, 5 years this has been going on, 189 episodes tonight. Care, thank you very much. Bruce, your dedicated fan. Turtle, oh, Judy, Judy is watching. Judy's YouTube is Turtle Boy. What? Judy, we got to talk about that. Why is it Turtle Boy? It's weird for a username for your aunt. Um, Care, how you doing? Thanks for jumping in. Yeah, I cannot believe it, and this has been such a fun run. I literally this kind of show just took off and swept off, and now you got all the show sponsors and partners and supporters of the show, and it's just been an absolutely amazing time, and I really appreciate everybody that watches the show and that's following it. I mean, I've got some longtime viewers. Bruce has probably seen close to every single episode of this show. Cody's seen probably close to every single episode of this show as well, and several others of you guys too. So it's much love, very much appreciated. And let's go ahead and kick off the show because really nobody comes to listen to me babble. I just wanted to say thank you for allowing this to happen for as long as it has been. So let's go ahead and bring in Jeff. Jeff, how you doing, man?
Oh, oh my God, Ryan, how are you?
Good.
I
Hey,
just want to,
go
I
ahead.
want to say right up front, this is not a shrine to me behind me. I don't even see it. My wife put all that stuff up, and I never see it unless I'm doing a Zoom thing, because I look the other way, so it's behind me. But it's not a shrine. One of my friends saw it, and he goes, "What'd you build some kind of mausoleum to your dead career? All things you've done in the past, you
Oh
know."
man. Well, I tell you what, guys, what he's not really. That's his bathroom. That's
Ah,
behind the
yeah,
toilet.
yeah. Actually, the coolest picture's right there. That's my dog who just passed away, Blake.
Oh,
A fan drew that and sent it to me. So that's pretty cool, man. Blake.
oh. Sorry to
Yeah,
hear about that. I have another
yeah, that was
friend
a
whose
rough one.
dog just passed away.
That was a rough one. Yeah.
But well, Jeff, thank you. The second he joined the show, everybody looks at him like, see, we can be related. Like it kind of looks, it passes off.
Yeah,
Um,
we're bald, so
right.
that kind of,
So excuse me, I've been dealing with sickness all week, and I apologize.
Oh,
Why I'm not smoking a cigar tonight. This is the first show in 5 years I'm not smoking a cigar.
really?
Yeah, I guess it's just crazy.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't do it tonight. I was just gonna hold one, but I was like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I just can't do it tonight. So it is what it is. But Jeff, for everybody that's watching that might not know who you are after 50 years of being a successful comedian, tell everybody
50
who
years,
you
huh?
are and a little bit of your background.
I'm Jeff Allen, and I have been doing comedy since 1978, and I finally got some traction 5 years ago. So hang with it, kids. Dreams do come true. 50 years into the business, another overnight sensation. I'm related to this guy. He called me, and I didn't want to do the show at all, but Ju Judy called me and said, "Come on, give the kid a break." He's
He still charged me.
yeah, he's still, yeah. I don't charge you. You know better than that. I wouldn't charge you a kid. I am getting a dinner out of you though when I come to Colorado Springs. For you to know that. Married, 2 kids, 4 grandkids. Those are the basics. Um, and coming up on my 70th birthday soon enough. So I'm starting my in March when I come to Colorado Springs. That's part of my first final farewell tour. The key word on first. I figured Cher had about 20 final farewell tours. Uh, Elton John's still having, no, this is it, I'm quitting tour, Elton John. So I figured I could start with one. So I have first final farewell tour starts in March, and I'm on the Love and Laughter tour now through February.
And when is the final farewell happen?
I don't know, when people quit coming out, but this year it's just the first final. Or I get canceled. I say something stupid on a podcast like this, and then it just ruins my career. So
Well, Jeff, I gotta say, you spent decades talking about your marriage and your family. You've been very, very open with it. When your wife or kids watch any of your specials now, do they kind of laugh, roll their eyes, or start negotiating royalties for stuff that you've used from
my kids have no idea what I do. When they were growing up, they were forced to come to the shows and watch. But since they've left home, my kid was shocked I wrote a book and it's been out for 2 years. So
them?
uh, they don't pay attention anymore. They used to argue about who the bits were about. I wrote a story about one of my kids going to camp, and he left the house with 14 clean pair of underwear, and he came home 2 weeks later with 13 clean pair of underwear, still folded. And they argued about who was the kid that would go out for 2 weeks and not change his underwear. And I said both of them actually, but this was about the youngest. He actually went to camp, and so. But that's they would argue about who it was about or whatever. And it was interesting when they would come to clubs with me because I was Father of the Year. I took my kids to nightclubs since they were 5 years old, and had them hanging out with all the drunks in the back. Uh, but my youngest used to, as a matter of fact, my youngest called me not that long ago. He said, I'm trying to put my childhood together. I go, why? Don't bother, man. It wasn't good. But he said, did I wash glasses in bars? I said, yeah, when you were about 6 or 7 years old, you used to go behind the bar and wash the glasses. Because he says, I remember 2 at a time in the rinse in the sink. And I thought that would be odd. What parent would allow their kid to wash bar glasses? But anyway, I would. Uh, I couldn't afford a babysitter.
Well, I mean, hey, come on, it teaches you character, right? And
Right.
and then
Well, he
they learn a
works.
skill.
Yeah, and he's been working since he was 15.
Exactly.
So yeah, so he's a hard working kid.
Since you've been doing stand up for 5 decades now, correct? 50
Six
years,
actually, if you
six
count.
decades.
Well, yeah, but 70s, 80s, 90s, the aughts, the teens, and now the 20s. So 6 decades,
Okay.
but 48 years, 78. So
Okay. So
yeah.
when you look back, what's the biggest way that comedy, or I should say the comedy world, has changed since those early Chicago club days in the late 70s?
Well, certainly with this nonsense of cultural appropriation, where you're not allowed to point out the differences between the cultures. In Chicago, South Side, there were 40 different cultures. And, the black comics talked about the white culture, the white comics talked about the black culture. And there was nothing malicious about it. The American people are pretty in tune to malice. And for whatever reason, it got hijacked by a small group of postmodernists, and all of a sudden you're not allowed to point out our differences, which is why, really, in the late 80s, I just started talking about my life. I took everything first person. I didn't make any general statements or I didn't do certainly any ad hominem attacks on anybody that I didn't know. And I felt that I was safe talking about my family. I did have some people initially come up and go, you shouldn't talk about your wife that way. And I'd go, if you were married to her, you'd talk about her that way. So you can't take that from me. You take my ability to talk about my marriage and my family. I got nothing left. I got nothing left. So, but yeah, that's the biggest change is that a lot of I don't have to. My audience knows me. They're familiar with. I mean, if you come to one of my shows and you're blindsided by my topics, you're an idiot because I have so many things on the internet you can check out before you even come out, and so I don't have that issue, but a lot of guys do, and they got to be. It's never been that way up until probably the last 10 years or so, where you had to walk on eggshells about topics and things that you talked about. And the comedian should be the cultural mirror. You know, it should reflect what's going on in the culture. But anyway, I'm kind of distanced from that, so I don't worry about it much. But it's something I've seen and observed. Younger comics have to deal with.
Yeah, and that's kind of, you look at some comedians that just did the, yeah, I don't care what you think. Do you
Right.
think that part of that cancel culture is that the person cared that they were about to be canceled? Meaning, you could have said whatever you wanted to say and just be like, you can't cancel me. I refuse to be canceled.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I mean, the apologies when they double, triple, and quadruple down on you. You can walk into something, and make a. If, again, I have a 3 or 4 rule. If I get messages from fans of mine, um, I'll give you an example. I have a joke about being out of the shower and I'm standing there with a towel around me, and my wife walks in and says to me, "I just noticed this about you," and I get caught under that stream of enthusiasm. And I said, "What?" And she says, "Your boobs point south." Uh, I don't get it. It's like it was said. She said it. I mean, so I'm just repeating what my wife said to me. And I got a couple of messages from fellow Christians, that said, "I expect more from you," and I wrote them back and said, "You shouldn't," but if you lowered if you lowered your expectations of my character, I would meet every one of them, and but that's kind of, if I had gotten like 20 uh, 20 of them, I would look at the bit and go, you know what, maybe I don't need it. It's not that strong or whatever. It isn't worth the hassle. But I mean, I trust my fans. They're pretty. I had a guy accuse me of using cocaine again. Uh, uh, my manager forwarded me the email. He said, "I know drug addicts, and Jeff Allen's using again." And I wrote him back. I said, I can assure you I'm not using cocaine again. I can assure that. And then anyway, I watched a couple videos of mine, and I was doing this like 50 times a show. I'm standing on stage. I'm just, and I go, I could see why somebody might think that, So I had to catch myself in future shows of not scratching my nose. It's just a nervous tick or a habit. And yeah, so anyway, I trust them. I wrote them back. I said, I could see why you'd think that, and that I have these nervous things that I do, and uh, but I trust my fans. They're pretty good. They're not outraged often, and I try not to give them reasons to, my goal is to make people laugh for an hour and a half and forget about their problems. And if you got, we talked before the show. You said any off topics. I said politics. I don't see the need, and my attitude is this, there was like during COVID, I had like one line on COVID. And I remember saying something about vitamin D and zinc, and and I said, by the way, if you're taking medical advice from a stand-up comic, you're a fool, you know. I don't want to get an email from someone, like I listened to you, and now my husband's on a respirator, and he's dying because of you. Well, you're an idiot. Don't listen to a comic. And it's the same with politics and whatever. If you're voting because of some comic, you're a moron. You know.
Well, I mean, if you're voting a certain way because of anyone's other's opinions, that's not like a
Right.
family member, but like the fact you just throw it. You take like a Taylor Swift, like who cares?
Right. Yeah.
Why does her opinion on anything care in the matter of politics? So for that point,
Well,
I
it's funny
commend
you
you.
say that because of all of the stuff I've read on X, sure, hers was the only one I ever wrote a comment to. And I said, you're one of the most original songwriters out there, and yet you continue to spit out this pap, this bumper sticker stuff you can get anywhere. There's nothing original coming out, you know. So just write songs and sing and entertain and give people an opportunity to go out and forget about their problems for an hour or two, man.
Yes.
That's all entertainment should be. It should be a distraction. And I'm not naive. I am a distraction.
Oh,
That's
totally.
and I'm proud of that. I'm proud that because people do come to me after shows and go, I lost my mother and my father like a month ago, man. And one guy came to me. He said, "It's the first time I've heard my wife laugh since her mother passed away, and that was almost 13 months ago." And
Wow.
I said, "I can't imagine going through my life with as much as I love my wife's laugh and not hearing it for 13 months. That would be heartbreaking." So,
Yeah, I agree with you. You guys, comedians, just artists in general are seen as a distraction, whether it's comedy, whether it's music, whether it's painting. And it's honestly one of the things that's kept me away from, other than the fact of the outrageous prices of going to some of these shows for some of these people, is like I don't want a moral lesson in that sense
I
of
don't want to be
like
preached to. Yeah, I don't
no,
want to be
yes.
preached to.
Like I
Yeah.
mean you take some of these great singers and whatever, and it's just like all they 30 minutes of the show is a message. You're like, just
Right. You know what I
sing.
love? What I love, I live in Nashville, so they have these like songwriters nights, and these are the guys that have written the songs. They're not the stars that sang them. They're the artists that have written them, and I get the story behind the songs. So when I go to the arena, I don't need a 15-minute story about how you came a happen upon this song and how it moved you and blah blah blah. Just sing. Chris Stapleton was the greatest concert I've ever been to. I mean, this guy said maybe 9 words in an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, but that's how it should
He'd
be.
turn, he'd turn around, he'd nod, the band would start, and he'd play another song, man. And then he'd turn around, he'd nod, he'd play another song. And then he'd introduce his wife or something. But then he'd go back to playing a song. And great concert, man.
Yeah, and
Highly
that's the
recommend it.
way it should be, because nobody's there to listen to him talk about anything else other than the songs he wrote.
Right.
And like and so you have been compared to classic observational comics, and I think that started when you started to kind of talk mainly about yourself, and you said that was pretty much in the 80s, right?
In the late 80s, I started. I got sober 80, 87. Yeah, I got married in 86, 87. I've been sober 38 years. So yeah, 87. And I just really, all I talked about prior to that was alcohol and drugs because that's all I ever did. And I got married in 86. So by 88, I'm 2 years into marriage and it's driving me insane. So I just, I've always kind of worked inside out. I'm a pretty neurotic guy. So it's a really overt form of therapy. I can I remember sitting on a stool. I think I wrote about this in my book. But I remember sitting on a stool in a hockey rink in the early '90s, and four or 500 people sitting in this club. They made a converted hockey rink into a comedy club, so there's four or 500 people, and I was sitting on a stool and I'm looking at the floor. I can't say anything. I don't know what to say. And I finally look at the audience and it's pretty awkward. You can hear a pin drop, man. They're looking at a meltdown. They're looking at some guys having a psychotic break in front of them. And I go, why are we here? What's the point to all this? Somewhere in the back of that room, a little woman goes, we just want to hear some jokes. And and I remember going, you know what? That's legit. And anyway, it snapped me out of it. I ended up doing my show. We had a great time, and I left. But I've always kind of, worked my my act, my career from the inside out. So when I was angry and bitter and jaded and cynical and foul-mouthed, my comedy was angry, bitter, cynical, jaded, and foul-mouthed. So now I'm in a much better place in my life, and the comedy is just a reflection of that. I have fun doing what I do. I love what I do.
Now, speaking of you were foul mouth, and by the way, Bruce, I don't know if he's got any specific shows in Michigan. Do you? Do you know of? If
I
not, you can check his
I'll tell you
website.
what, they go to jeffallencomedy.com,
Yeah, you can go to
and yeah,
jeffallencomedy.com and it
and
has it
I
there.
think all 80 dates are listed for the
Yeah.
year.
So you'll be able to see
Um,
he's all over the place.
yeah.
Um and it's crazy
Oh,
that
I am. I'm going to Comedy Castle.
okay.
I am. I'm going to Mark Ridley's place in Royal Oaks. I know that in May or April, maybe April. Yeah.
There you go. Comedy Castle. Bruce, if you're familiar with that place. You are very well known today as a straight clean comedian. And where was that transition? Was that
Oh,
transition when you became saved, or was the
no,
transition
no. It was 2 years before that. My son, fourth grade, got caught cussing his teacher out. Fourth grade. So we get called in as parents, and the teacher was so embarrassed by what my son said, she couldn't even repeat it. I said, I can figure it out. And it was funny because I looked at her and I said, I'd love to be able to look you dead in the eye and tell you I have no idea where that child of mine heard that kind of language. But uh, driving home that morning from the school, it's pretty embarrassing when it comes out of your kid's mouth. And Tammy said to me, "That's a reflection on us. We got to stop talking that way at home." So anyway, I paid my kids a quarter for every foul word, and the joke was that's how I funded their college uh, at a quarter at a time. But anyway, I took it from in the house and I got on stage and I said, I wonder if I could do my act without swearing. And I had to get a thesaurus out. I had to rewrite things. And as a storyteller, it made me much better at what I do. It made me much better. And by the time I became a believer, by the time I gave my life to Christ 2 years later, I had already had a foundation of working clean, and it was an easy transition then after 9/11. That's when I decided I was going to work churches. I was in Vegas when 9/11 hit at the Tropicana, and I couldn't get home, and my family was freaking out. And I called my manager, who's Jewish, and I said, "You think churches would hire me?" He goes, "I think you're asking the wrong guy." And yeah, the first year I put it out that I was going to do my show at churches, I got one church the entire year to hire me. And apparently, when your resume is casinos and nightclubs, pastors tend to hesitate to give you the pulpit for an hour. So it took Bill Gaither, the singer. I got hooked up with him, and his stamp of approval on what I was doing opened up the church market for me. So I did that predominantly for 20 years. And then when Dry Bar hit 5, 6 years ago, that changed everything. I was able to get back into clubs and theaters and stuff, and I'm really having a blast.
So I gotta ask, why have you never been like, hey Kurt, let me do a voice on Veggie Tales. I would have. I would have.
I didn't even
I'm,
think about it.
I'm
I
famous,
didn't even think
Kurt. I'm
about
a
it.
comedian. I'm a stand-up comedian. Let me play Moses or something.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that. I didn't even. I have no self-esteem, so I would think, why would anyone want to hire me? You know, so so that's funny that you said that. I didn't even think about it. I should have. I should have pushed it a little bit, guilted him, maybe taken him and
Yeah,
Judy out to dinner so I could look him right in the eye. You know, when he
exactly.
tries to hide. It's
Right?
so easy to hide on email.
Oh,
You know, where you just, oh, Jeff, you know, we're working on it. We think,
yeah,
you
oh
know,
yeah.
but you can read the room, man, when you're sitting across the table from someone who's really uncomfortable with what you just asked.
I know, and that's why that's a better conversation to have in person. I think the next Veggie Tales needs to feature Jeff Allen.
I'm with you, man. From your lips to God's ears.
Judy,
I think
we
we can
need to
do
make
this.
this happen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She finally okay. Turtle Man is
Oh,
Kurt's
Turtle
name.
Boy.
Is
Oh,
Kurt's
Turtle
name.
Man. Oh boy.
So, all right. So we're in. I'll push that for you as well.
Um,
Um,
oh, then I could be a hit for my grandchildren. I think that would be great.
you
Yeah,
know,
my 11-year-old granddaughter came out to see a show last year, and she sat there, watched it, and then afterwards came over to me and said, "Papa, you're not funny." And I said, "Thank you. Um, it's a good thing you don't pay the salary, you know." That
um,
food you put down your pie hole tonight was paid for by what I do, you
right,
know. Yeah.
right. It was, I don't think my daughter. I don't even know what I do, let alone my kid knowing what I do.
Yeah, hard to define.
Very hard to define. Speaking of kids, most of your acts obviously center around marriage and raising kids. What keeps your material fresh after 5, 6 decades of talking about
You
your
know what?
family life?
That's what's so funny is that people ask, what's your favorite joke? The newest one is my favorite. Um, I just put together, I just put together a whole routine about shopping at Costco that ended with my favorite joke of all time. I think of all the jokes I've ever put together, this is my favorite joke. And I said, I always pick the oldest cashier at the grocery store because all they want to do is get out and smoke their next cigarette. They are going to get you out of there. Beep, 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 beep. They're running you out, man. And these young ones, they just want to chat you up, how y'all doing, Anyway, it's a long story. So this is the closing joke, and it's my favorite of all time. I said, I was buying Wheaties, and this cashier goes, "Oh, my daddy used to eat Wheaties." And I said, "Well, I got away from him for a few years after I saw what they did to Bruce Jenner." Um, that's my favorite joke. That's my
It
favorite joke.
it it did take me a quick second because I forgot
Yeah.
he was on the
Well, most
Wheaties
people.
box from the '80s, from
Well,
the
that's what's so
Olympics.
funny because I said she ruins the whole joke by saying, "Who's Bruce Jenner?" I go, "My God, he was an Olympic gold medalist." Tammy says, "Read the room. She's 19." I go, "My gosh." You didn't even get it. So like,
No,
you had to think
no,
about it. Yeah.
it took me a
Yeah.
quick second because
Yeah.
I totally forgot that for one he's been a he or she or whatever for
Yeah.
so long now, and I
5 years
totally
now.
forgot
Yeah.
that he did the
He was
Wheaties
a gold
box,
medalist,
gold
man.
medalist, yeah. Um,
Decathlon, one of the hardest events ever. He was a stud. So I think the Wheaties did it to him. That's all I'm saying. It's a joke, by the way. Don't email me. Email Ryan. All right. Send
No,
Ryan your
I am.
hate
They're all
mail.
going forward. Jeff's
And
Jeff's cell phone is in the description here below, so just text him directly.
it's okay. I don't answer them anyway. So,
Are
um,
there are there any topics you personally find hilarious, but you consciously avoid on stage because they don't fit the clean, family orientated lane that you've kind of committed to?
oh, human sexuality. Oh my gosh, that is just a that is that's yeah.
It's a
After
treasure
70
trove.
70 years of walking that, man. But I just, yeah, but yeah, I don't dabble. Nobody wants to hear from a 70-year-old who even thinks he's having sex anymore. You know, I could hear the millennials going, ew, yeah, shut up, So,
Well,
but
how do
yeah, I
you
don't.
how do you not as a comedian reach for reach for the quick stuff in a bind? Like, have you ever been in a spot where either you forgot what you were going to say early on, you forgot what
Oh
you were
yeah.
going to say, or you're like, shoot, everything in my entire, like, if this isn't working, nothing's going to work. And then how do you not just go for the low hanging sexual stuff, or just, it just seems like that's just super low hanging fruit most of the time.
Well, it's interesting because it never worked for me. I tried it.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
politics. I tried in the 90s. It just didn't work for me. Matter of fact, Tammy sat me down one night and said, "Stop talking about the world. Nobody cares what you think. You know, we're starving." But I had things to say, Ryan. I had things to say. People needed to know, you know. But uh, early, I had terrible stage fright. There were nights I'd walk up, look at the crowd, and run off. I wouldn't say a word. I'd just freeze and then leave. It was humiliating. The first year and a half, I had club owners tell me, use it as a hobby. You'll never make money at this. I go, well, thank you. Nobody's who's ever made anything of their life has not had some pinhead in the past tell them they wouldn't make anything of their life.
Right.
So you're my pinhead. Thank you. And but yeah, I had drinking, and I was drunk a lot, and slurring, and you know I love the days when the cocaine, the blood would just crust. Like I'd get off stage, go to the bathroom, and see I just did an hour show with crusty blood hanging underneath my
Oh,
nose. So yeah, those were the good old days.
yeah. You
Uh,
talk a lot of. Oh, sorry. Continue.
no, go ahead.
You talk a lot about your addiction, which is like, it's kind of a, it allows you, at least in my opinion, to feel the connection with the audience, because like I've never felt in watching any of your comedy stuff that you've ever tried to be something you weren't. That I've
Oh,
never
that's
felt
the
like
point.
you were Jeff
Yeah.
on stage and then there's a Jeff off stage.
Well, it's
Um,
so funny. There were guys that talked about drugging in Boston when I lived there, and one of the drug addicts, we were sitting off stage, we're trashed, and this guy's telling drug jokes, and you can tell he's never done a drug in his life. And finally, what my buddy just hops up on the stage and drags him off. This town was built on originality. Go out and get trashed. Do drugs before you talk about. I mean, he was livid, livid. How dare you talk about things you know nothing about? So again, you can only draw on what you know.
for sure, for
Uh,
sure.
and I have always felt that at least the good comedy for me, even as a audience member, starts with some truth. If it's
It has
true,
to.
and then you take it to an absurd level, and exaggerate a bit. I put words in my wife's mouth that she's never said, and it's funny because people want to meet her because she's a pistol. you know? She's a pistol. She says these things. I go, yeah, actually, but she does say something like the bit I do about her hairy face. She brought that up. I didn't. She goes, I I don't even know how you can kiss me. I'm such a hairy beast. And I go, I don't see anything. She goes, Jeff, I have a goatee. How do you not see that? I go, I don't. You know. So anyway, but
That's news to me.
that's yeah, that stuff. And then she said this line. This was hers. I do a line about I'm a functioning hypochondriac, and anyway, I had a physical. That's what it was. I had a physical, full physical, and then my wife calls me like a week and a half later. I'm on the road. She goes, the doctor called with your test results, and I go, this is why you did not put your wife's name on the HIPAA form. That call should have came to me. And I said, what did the doctor say? She said, I'll paraphrase. He said, if you were part of a wildebeest herd, the lions would be circling you right now. That was her. She came back from the doctor, and I said, "What do you say?" She goes, "Oh, Jeff, if I was part of a wildebeest herd, the lions would be circling me right now." So anyway, she's
That's
a
too
funny woman.
funny.
She's a funny woman and self-deprecating, and sometimes it bothers me. I have to say to her, "Quit talking about my wife that way." I wouldn't let a stranger come in here and talk about you like that. You can't do it. You're not allowed. So
Well,
she's a good.
how do you balance being honest about the dark sides, the marriage struggles, the faith, the addiction, and then balance that without losing any laughter in the room?
Well, that's again, it's interesting because I'll take it 5 minutes. When I talk about my book, the first 6 chapters are pretty heavy. They're really heavy. I mean, I unloaded, and I tell the audience, I break the tension. I talk about you know things in the book and that are really heavy, and the room gets really quiet. And then I'll break the tension with, if you can get through the first 6 chapters of my book without killing yourself, it's actually an uplifting tale. So give it time. And comedy is tragedy plus time. I think Woody Allen
Mm-hmm.
said that.
Mm-hmm.
There's when you can distance yourself from the pain and suffering of your,
Sure.
of that, and find a humor in it. Because basically every wound I have outside of all the childhood stuff has been self-inflicted. I've been my own worst enemy for years, and if you can't laugh at your own folly, it'll crush you. It'll just absolutely crush you. You got to find the humor in things, man. Idiot relatives, like Kurt. I mean, you got to be able to laugh. It's a joke, Kurt, Turtle Boy, whatever your name is,
Turtle Boy.
Turtle Boy.
We're going to be talking to him about how Turtle Boy came into existence. I want to know that
Yeah,
story and how you thought of the name.
yeah. Maybe,
Man, I'm
maybe
sorry.
that's all right. Maybe Judy's kicked him out of the house so many times he carries his belongings on his back all day. He carries his second home on his back.
His
You know,
instruments.
yeah, his instruments. Yeah,
Well,
they're,
they're on a cruise right now.
they
So,
are.
yeah, no,
Oh God bless. So
Kurt's
they're
taking
missing.
pictures.
Are you kidding me? They're missing the snowstorm of the century in Nashville. It's coming in 2 days.
Yeah, they're on
Snowmageddon, man. They're calling it lasagna. You got an layer of ice, then a layer of snow, then a layer of ice. I'm going
really?
to Georgia. Yeah, I'm going to Georgia tomorrow. I got to be home by 11 o'clock tomorrow night because by midnight you're going to shut the whole city down. You live in Colorado. You guys are used to seeing white stuff fall from the sky. Nashville, we have one plow and we get it from Kentucky. So it's going to be a bad. It's going to be bad. My wife showed me pictures of Costco today. This is on the forecast. Understand that this is the forecast. There were lines outside of Costco to get in Costco a half a mile long.
Now watch. You
And
guys
nothing will
get
happen.
a dust,
And it
and
will
you
be.
just
Well,
had
I know.
and you just had a
But we're
hundred people rebuy
uh,
all that toilet paper,
I know.
like it
We're
was
we're
COVID.
fine. We're fine. We're what my son asked me, "Are you guys preppers?" I go, "I don't know, but I just got rid of my last can of beans from Y2K. I'll tell you that. We were ready for that one. Uh, we prep and then we eat it all. So we you know so the key for us is when the apocalypse hit, it's like 3 or 4 days after we had gone to Costco. But we just bought a whole cow. Our freezer's full, and
You bought
we're
it butchered, or did you buy it
we
alive
bought
and
it
you're gonna?
butchered.
Oh, okay.
We bought it butchered. Yeah,
Just wanted to
I got a
make
friend
sure.
of mine I golf with who's a rancher, and I called him in November. I said, "Do you got a cow? We're running low on the last one. Took about 2 years to get through the last one,
Wow.
And so anyway, he said, I got one that's small. I didn't realize it was a runt. It's like 480 pounds. Most cows are like 900. So the steaks are they're just little niblets. These strip steaks, they're tiny. But we got plenty of ground beef, and my wife is going to go tomorrow to pick up um, I don't know, shrimp. I think you know,
Don't go to
but we're
Costco.
no, she's staying. That's what she showed it to me. She goes, she was going to go to Costco. She goes, I'm not going there. I'll go to the other
See,
grocery store. I guarantee you, the other grocery store will be empty. It'll
see,
be shelves will be empty.
see, I was watching some guy post a similar video, but he's like, he goes, I've been coming to this Walmart for years. I forgot where he was. I don't know if he said, but he was talking about the snowstorm of the century. It's like, I've been coming to this grocery store for years. He goes, not since COVID has the entire bread aisle been gone. I guess there's been a lot of people lying about how gluten free they are. He goes, look at the bread aisle right now, and
That's
then he
funny.
goes to the milk section. And he goes, look, this is how many people I guess are no longer lactose and dairy intolerant. Shows that it's just
Right.
completely empty. And he goes,
Yeah.
note that it says two per purchase. So it's not
Yeah.
like people are getting 10 gallons at one time.
Right. I'm gonna rip that off. I think.
Go for it.
Yeah. The I learned that uh, early in our living in Nashville. Uh, I went to the grocery store one night to get some romaine lettuce, and the entire produce department was gone. And I said to the produce guy, you didn't get a shipment today? He goes, oh, snowed today. Snowed. And I'm trying to think, when did it snow? And I realized it flurried. It was like dandruff that fell from the sky, and the whole town freaked out, and they just ran up. And that's when we learned, if you hear it's going to snow in the next week, you get to the store. But my wife, we have a refrigerator full of King Arthur's flour, and my wife is a world-class baker. She can bake a loaf of bread, like in her sleep, she can bake a loaf of bread. So we we're good. We have chickens, so we have all the eggs we'll need, unless again it gets bad and our neighbor just comes over and starts killing our chickens, you know, which could happen. It is Nashville. Our neighbor shot our rooster. Our neighbor shot our rooster. He was attacking Our rooster was attacking his 4-year-old granddaughter, and he
Oh,
pulled his piece out of his pocket and shot our rooster.
what do you say to something like that? Are you like still friends
I
with
I
him?
didn't care. That rooster was he was a prick, for a lack of a better word. He would attack us every morning. We'd go out to feed the hens, and
I
he'd
know
be
that.
mauling us. I'd hit
Yep.
him with the garbage can lid,
Oh
and
yeah.
Tammy'd beat him with a stick. Anyway, yeah, when he got shot, nobody, there wasn't one heart broken in and even the girls, the hens, he was raping them every day. So we
Oh
didn't
yeah.
care.
Even the
A
hens didn't
beautiful Wyandotte
care.
too. It was a gorgeous Wyandotte. But yeah, so our neighbor has been known to shoot some of our creatures, so
You know,
that
my
could happen.
my dad's from Ocala, Florida, and he grew up on 10 acres. And when we used to go down there, they had chickens
Yeah,
all the way up until Granny really started getting bad from Alzheimer's, and then they stopped.
yeah,
Um, but we would go out there every day, and I felt like we had a new rooster, at least two or three new roosters a summer. Because Granny would take a stick in there every time. Granddad would clip their wings with just his pocket knife so they couldn't fly.
yeah,
And
right,
then we'd walk in there and she'd have and I'm like 8, 7, 8, right?
yeah,
And whenever Granddad would get home and I heard the shotgun, I knew Granny had told him that the rooster came after Ryan and I today, or the rooster came after one of the other grandkids today. I think we need time that we let that one go. And then we go get a new one like the next week, right? Like
yeah,
that's just how it
yeah,
worked. So we had chicken and dumplings quite often.
yeah. We had capon. That's what
There you go.
rooster is. We had a hen. We What they don't tell you at Tractor Supply when you pick up your little pullets is that every creature God created with teeth is going to eat your chicken if given. And I told Tammy after 5 years of trying to keep chickens alive, I said, I think if frogs had teeth, we'd come out and there'd be one gnawing at one of our chickens' necks, you know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so anyway, she had a hen one day. We were down to like 3 hens, and she had a hen that was broody, which means they're just sitting on eggs trying to hatch them. They want to be a mom. So anyway, she said, I'm gonna let her hatch them, like a dozen eggs. And I'm thinking, oh God, more chickens. So anyway, she hatches 12 chickens. Within 4, 5, 6 months, we realized 7 of those were roosters. I mean, every day, all day, you know. And I'm going to tell your listeners, the people who are watching this, don't hate me for this, but I was stressed. I was laying in bed one afternoon trying to take a nap, and I had like 4 or 5 roosters out my window, hawking over the other side of the house to the other 2 on the other side, back and I mean, it was loud and not. I said, "That's it." So I get my 12 gauge out from under the bed, and I'm loading it as I'm going through the living room. And Tammy says to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting dinner. I'm getting dinner. I can't take it." And the first one running by off my porch, I shot it, you know. And by the way, if you want rooster for dinner, don't shoot it with a 12 gauge. There wasn't a lot of that bird left.
You gotta
But
take the head solely.
yeah, yeah, that's it. You know, so anyway, I went to go get more, and she said, "You can't be shooting things. We have neighbors." And I go, "They're thanking me. Trust me, they're thanking me." And we ended up doing the to the we waited till they roosted and fell asleep, and then Tammy would go into the hen house, wrap a towel around a rooster, and then we would drive it to the train depot, if you know what I mean, train station from Yellowstone, and we'd let them go in the woods. We'd just go, "You're on your own. Let nature, you know." For all I know, they're still alive.
Hmm.
They just never came home. That's all I know. And
Oh,
but
that's funny.
boy, it was a nightmare. Eight roosters all together. Mm.
Wow.
And we had my son's husky got loose one Christmas, and I walk out to put the close up the hen house, and I see feathers. It looked like someone took a knife to a down comforter. The whole yard was covered in feathers. I go, "This
His
can't be good."
dog?
Yeah, I look over, and the dog had the last hen in his mouth, and he's wagging his tail. I love this place. Oh, they don't have this in my house. And
Look at
we
all
call
these
it the
living
Christmas.
toys.
Yeah, we call it the Christmas Day Massacre. He slaughtered 7 hens before we caught him, and yeah, it's hard keeping them alive. But now Tammy she had built a a pen house, a hen house that would probably hold a T-Rex. It's a huge uh, area where they can stay outside, but they're protected from the varmints because we live in a rural area and it's woods. And so about every 3 or 4 days, she lets them walk the entire 2 acres, you know, eat the bugs and stuff. So far, we've had one rooster and 13 hens for as long as we've ever been able to hang on to
Well, that's
chickens.
good.
Uh,
That's good.
we're kind of learning after 3 dozen just who have met their demise in our yard, you know,
Well,
from hawks and raccoons and whatever.
my buddy John lives up in Netherland, which is just up the mountain from Boulder into the mountains, and lots of bears, lots of everything up there that will kill you, right? And so he put together this makeshift cage, all right, and he was so happy. He goes, "Dude, this thing must have stopped a mountain lion or a bobcat. I'm sorry, must have stopped a bobcat." We were over there and we saw the bobcat. He goes, "Every time I see the bobcat's paws in the tray, he goes, this thing's great." And he talks to me about 2 or 3 weeks later. He sends me pictures. The whole thing is destroyed. And I'm like, "Oh, the bobcat did that?" He goes, "No, the bear." Just destroyed. He's like, the backyard looked like a war zone. He goes, "My wife's upset. My daughter's crying." He goes, "This is nuts." So
Uh,
yeah, he goes, "Never again." Well, he goes, "I'm not trying that again." He goes, "That was it." He goes, "One and
well,
done. We can't do it."
at least he lived. There's I think I don't know if you follow the Darwin Awards. It's one of my
Oh
favorite
yes,
awards.
yes.
Well, years ago, some guy took his guitar to Alaska to sing to the polar bears.
Oh, that polar bear. Oh no,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah.
grizzly man.
It's sad. I mean, sad he died, but you know what? You need people in your life that when you go to them and say, I'm going to go sing to the polar bears, they sit you down and they explain nature to them. You know, this isn't a Disney cartoon, pal. This is a real polar bear. They they're they're going to look at you as dinner, you know.
You
Um,
know, the harsh thing that people don't realize is go to nature and see if you can still act the way you do. Just in
uh,
general, and see if you can survive in nature, you're probably doing the right thing.
yeah,
But if you can't,
yeah.
you're probably not supposed to be there.
I wouldn't. My idea, roughing it's Motel 6, no remote for the TV. You know,
With the
that's
coin,
that's
you gotta have the coin
oh,
for the
oh
bear.
yeah, for the I like it. I've stayed at places where they had the remote chained to the nightstand. Who's stealing hotel remotes? I mean,
Hey,
wow.
back in the day, those cost a lot of money. You
Yeah,
know.
I guess.
So I want to kind of talk a little bit about your faith here.
All
You've
right.
you've talked about going from atheist to alcoholic skeptic to a committed Christian. If you were to zoom out on a specific night or conversation, when do you think the moment was that you kind of realized my way of seeing the world doesn't appear to work anymore?
Oh, I literally, when I got to a 12-step program and they said pray, I said to what? And that was really kind of the seed. Um, the beauty of alcoholism and drug addiction is that when you finally get to the realization that you are insane, which is really the first step. I mean, you know, I can't live this way. This the way I'm living literally is insane.
Hmm.
And you can no longer rationalize it. And that's where the marriage and the kids coming in really, it wasn't just me I was destroying. It was um, these little people and her, you know. So, okay, I got to make a change. All right, I want to get sober. What does that look like? Okay, not drinking. Okay, all right. You know, a week, 2 weeks into that, you're feeling pretty good. And then the anger and stuff starts coming back. And then normally it's like, I want to drink again. Well, I can't drink. I know I can't. So I got to live without this. How do I live without it? So you go to people who've done it. So
Hmm.
I'd sit in those rooms and I'd see 20 years, 30 years of sobriety. And I'm thinking, I could barely put 20 days together. This is
Hmm.
amazing. So you're you're either an egomaniac to sit back and again, it's the only thing that exceeded my arrogance was my ignorance. So it's a great combination, stupidity and arrogance. And but I at least humbled myself enough to realize that on my best day, I wound up almost dead from alcoholism. So maybe I should listen to these people. And they said, pray. And I said, to what? And they said, find something, anything, because you're the reason you're here. So they gave me a book, a blue book. It's called The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And again, I get email messages from people in the program. They go, you can't mention it on a podcast. It's an anonymous. And I go, if I say I'm an alcoholic and I'm going to a 12-step program, is it a big stretch to figure out which one I'm
Right,
going to?
right,
You
right.
know, so anyway, I apologize to those who are upset now that I mentioned it on a podcast. But anyway, they give me the book and they give me what they call the third step prayer. And it's God, remove me from the bondage of self so that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties so that victory over them others may bear witness to thy strength, thy power, and thy way of life. And I said that prayer because they told me to. I didn't believe in God, but I was going to do it. Whatever these sober people, and I'm looking at 20, 30 years, man. It was fascinating to me that you could put that kind of time together. And all they told me was, I need to do it one day at a time. And what I've learned in my faith is that I believe that we're in a spiritual war. This life down here is just you're in a constant tug of war for your soul. And the people that the author of lies, the devil, is the author of lies. If he can't beat you up with your past, he'll get you projecting the future, and it's
Mm-hmm.
never pretty. The future. This is it, because I went through that in sobriety. This is my life. This is it. This is all I got to do now. You know, where God says to you, I want you in the moment. I want you here. I want you in the here and now, man. Look at your wife. Look at your kids. Look at the life you have. You have a beautiful life. Because believe me, trouble's coming. So today, if you don't have a foundation, I had a guy tell me recently. He said his son tried to commit suicide, a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what did you tell him? And he said, I told him the truth. Life is boring and it's mundane. And in the context of all that mundaneness, these flashes of brilliance come in, and those have to sustain you. But if you're wrapped up in your past and you're wrapped up in your future, you're going to miss those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fuel. That's what it gives you hope. It gives you a desire to pursue that kind of stuff, you know. So it took me a long time. I started I think I got into a huge argument with my wife in the kitchen, really bad. I mean, I screamed and hollered and made an ass out of myself. And I put my kid to bed. He's 6 years old. He goes, Daddy, you win. I go, what do you mean I win? He goes, you yell, mommy cries. You win. And that one of my prouder moments as a husband and a father. And I went downstairs and I apologized to Tammy for about the 800th time. I said, I'm going to get help. And that's when I went to my first therapist. And she put a book in my hands and a self-help book, Road Less Traveled, Scott Peck's book. And I started voraciously reading. Uh, I never read a book in my entire life until I was 31 and sober. And I just wanted an answer to why I was so miserable. I mean, I checked the boxes. I had a beautiful wife. She loved me. I had beautiful, healthy children. I mean, I had a job I loved. You know, I mean, all the boxes you can check as a man, I checked them, you know, and I was still just an angry, bitter, jaded, cynical, foul-mouthed human being. And in this book, I remember two things from the book specifically. The opening of the book, life is difficult. When it can be accepted as such, it no longer is. It just becomes a series of problems that need to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
So all the trouble in your life, you look at and go, and that's where the serenity prayer comes in. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference between the. And that was, I must have said that prayer 30 times a day because I'd get angry at everything. And then I'd ask myself, can I change this? No. Can I? Yeah. You know, it would help if I stepped out of the situation. It would probably be a
Sure.
wise thing to do. So, wisdom is an important tool to living. And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't very wise. I lived on my emotions and this bile that poured out of me from the inside out. So I just read John Bradshaw stuff on family dynamics. Again, I wanted to know why I was the way I was. I couldn't quite, because I didn't want to be this way. I didn't want to be that guy, that angry, bitter guy. It's not normal. It's not healthy.
How much of
Uh,
what you were doing did resemble your father?
Everything. Kirk and my, my brother Kirk and my
Mm-hmm.
father were just really enraged, filled men. And I was following along right down the path, and I was sober. You know, I was sober. Everything I did in my marriage that destroyed it was I did sober. I couldn't blame booze for that. I was a dry drunk, and I am the reason it's an anonymous program. I would not have. I, Nobody in that program would have wanted me out there touting it because I was constantly having fits of rage, and I just couldn't seem to stop it. And even in my room, that's why I try to tell my wife. I go, I do this when I'm alone in my room. This stuff just comes up, and I would beat pillows and pound the bed and scream and into the pillow. I mean, it just It's the strangest thing. Something would just click, which is why politics is a wonderful thing when you're that angry because you again, it's not normal, it's not healthy, it's not natural.
Hmm.
So people ask, why are you so angry? Well, it's easy if you can point your finger at a Democrat or a Republican
Oh
and
yeah,
just go, I'm angry because of them.
you're
They're the ones
right.
screwing everything up. And you realize when you calm down and get sane, you go, who cares? I don't care about these people. They don't care about me. Why would I care about them? So anyway, uh, I'm 6, 7 years in. I'm reading New Age Buddhism, and I got onto humanism. Ayn Rand. I loved Ayn Rand.
I love Ayn Rand.
If I was not a Bible believing Christian, I'd be an Ayn Rand objectivist. And
She lived her own lifestyle to the T and died very lonely because of it.
that's it. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's so funny.
She
I read
died
Atlas
super
Shrugged.
lonely.
I read Atlas
It's
Shrugged
greatest
in the
book ever written.
in the mid '90s.
Hmm.
I mean, it's exhilarating. I read it. I was like, holy God, this is great.
Right?
And then they did a poll in Arizona where we were living. The Arizona Republic did a poll of their readers. What are the most influential books in your life? Number one, the Bible. Number
Hmm.
two, Atlas
Atlas
Shrugged.
Shrugged.
And I said to my wife, I go, this is my Bible. This is my
Hmm.
Bible. Okay, so a couple years later, I give my life to Christ because of the Bible. I meet a guy on the road. He's uh, doing comedy. He's a businessman. Worth millions. He's doing comedy, opening, emceeing for $100 a week. He doesn't need the money. He just midlife thing, wanted to tell some jokes. And he's a Christian. So we're on the golf course, and I just filed bankruptcy financially. Shockingly, an alcoholic couldn't hang on to money. And so anyway, I'm asking him, how do you accumulate wealth? I've never been taught. It's a tool. I understand it. I was knowledgeable enough to know that making money and hanging on to it there's a formula to this. There's tools that you have, and delaying gratification would be a good one. I
Hmm.
still haven't got that one yet. But anyway, he says you don't want a lot of money, and I go, I don't. He goes, you can't handle what little you have apparently, and a lot would be probably cripple you. It would be depressing to lose a lot of money.
Brutally honest.
And then he said to me, in order to enjoy the creation, you have to have a relationship with the one who created it. And I thought that sounded new agey. And I said, where did you read that? And he said, it's in the Bible. It's about having a relationship with Jesus. And I go, oh, okay. A couple holes. We're playing golf. He said something else really wise. And I go, that's really great. Where do you read this stuff? He goes, it's in the Bible. And I said, stop it with the Bible. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, I don't know anybody that reads the Bible. I mean, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I mean, God's word, that's archaic. And he says, what's in the Bible you don't think is true? And I go, I don't know. I never read it. He goes, then you're not really an atheist. You're a moron. And I was like, what? And he
Fair.
goes,
Fair.
listen to me. He goes, listen, I'm going to explain it to you the best I can. It's the most influential book in the history of the world, and you can't even crack it open. That's lazy and moronic. Read it, study it, then come to a conclusion. But don't dismiss it as irrelevant. And he said, I'd like to help you out, man. I like you. And I don't know why he ever said that. I'm breaking clubs and cussing like a sailor. And anyway, he signed me up for Bible tapes from a church in Texas, Denton Bible. And they started coming to my house, and I never opened one up for like a year. He never asked me, I sent you tapes, he just would go, how you and Tammy doing? And I go, not too good, Phil. I think we're going to get a divorce. We ended up filling out divorce papers, had them notarized, and
Wow.
we're driving to the courthouse to file them and end our marriage. And she changed her mind, and we went home. And 10 minutes from filing those papers 30 some years ago. But so anyway, she took the kids that summer to Ohio and left me with all these tapes. And the first one I opened up was first sermon I ever listened to was Ecclesiastes. And if your listeners are not familiar
Hmm.
with it, it's probably the most cynical book in the Bible. It opens with meaningless, meaningless. All in life is meaningless. And I went, yes, it is. It all sucks. you know. I mean, that was the most exhilarating sermon I probably could have ever heard. It was just Solomon. What this guy wrote 5,000, 3,000 years ago is he knew more about America today than every self-help book I ever
Well,
read.
that fits your observational humor so much too, right?
Yeah.
Media.
Well, it was like, basically what the end of the sermon was this: life without God will have no meaning. Without meaning to your life, there's no purpose to your life. And without purpose to your life, you might as well off yourself. And I said, yeah, that's true. And I felt if that truth was in the Bible, that because that was profound to me.
Mhm.
That was my conclusions. I was living from that worldview, nihilism, and trying to raise a family and not poison them. I was trying not to poison the people around me because I knew what was inside of me. I knew it was. I had no hope, despair, and I'm just trying to hang on by the skin of my teeth. And if that's in the Bible, then there must be other things in this book. And I opened up tape after tape after tape, and I listened to about a year and a half's worth of Bible sermons in about 3 months. Tammy was gone. I had no work. I was just sitting at home listening and
Mm.
making notes in my Bible. And I remember one of the verses was what Paul wrote it. What joy and pleasure do you get out of what you now are ashamed of? I'm paraphrasing, but in other words, all those parties and all that stuff that you thought you were having a great time at, and now I look back at it, what a waste of time, money, uh, uh, resources. How many years did I knock off my life with all the drugs and the alcohol? And yeah, what joy do I get now? What pleasure does that bring me now? None.
Mhm.
Zero. And I remember writing a note. Wow, that was my note. Wow. So I was just soaking that book up. And I went to Texas to do some shows in August. And I went to my friend's house who gave me the tapes, and we were having dinner. And he said, when I met you, God put it on my heart. You were looking for something. Have you found it? And I said, all I can say is if Jesus is not who he claimed to be, then Solomon was right in Ecclesiastes, suicide. So I said, I will get on my knees as a child and just say, I'm yours, whatever that looks like, whatever that means. I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't raised in a church. Um, and so anyway, that was 29 years ago. And it hasn't been a smooth ride. I fall, I stumble, I get off the path. As Paul said, I'm the chief of sinners, but I try, and I do. And I don't see another worldview. Uh, I really don't. I don't see another worldview that answers all my questions. Origin, meaning, morality, destiny. That's the
Well,
only one. Even Sartre said, John Paul Sartre, I remember reading some of him, and he said it. He said, in order for something finite to have meaning, it has to be attached to something infinite and fixed and never changing. Because what we have here is circumstances that change
mhm,
constantly. So whatever you put your hope and faith in, eventually may not,
crumble.
you
Yeah.
know. Because Tammy would shake me, go, what about us? I go, you can get T-boned at a red light. I mean, it's morbid, but it happens,
No,
you
you're
know.
right. You're right. Well, you gotta have a North Star that's a stationary star.
That's it.
And that's how you have to do it. When
Well, for
you
me, yeah,
no, go
you
ahead.
know,
For you, what?
it's Christ. Christ
Mhm.
never moves, never changes. The words are there, and it's been that way. People dust it off. The words have been written for thousands of years, and it sits on a shelf. I used to tell churches, you go to a bookstore, and the shelves are filled to the walls, to the rafters, to the ceilings, covered of man's attempt to find meaning apart from God. And the Bible sits over there with dust all over it because nobody wants to pick it up because it's archaic. It's so we're past that as a species. Really? Yeah, I don't think so.
I,
So
I also
anyway, that's
I
and
also
I don't want to preach. I don't want to
no,
preach, but
no, no,
I
no. You're not
this is
preaching. You're
my
not preaching at
this is
all.
my take. This is my
Sure.
take on all of it.
I
So
also think that a lot of people part of what made objectivism and Ayn Rand, by the way, Fountainhead and Atlas
Oh,
Shrugged are my
yeah.
two best defining books that created a libertarian out of me. I swear by my life
Yes.
and my love of it that I will never live for the sake of another man nor ask him to live for mine. It
Right.
is amazing. The 80-page diatribe from Galt in the third part of
Yeah.
was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
But I
she
think,
wrote some amazing stuff. Did you ever
oh,
read her
her
her book on
essays.
their essays where she talked about Woodstock and she talked about
Hmm.
the moon landing on what was going on in the other end of the country, the two different science and then
Oh yeah, and then
the
partying.
collectivists up in
Yeah.
Woodstock. Yes.
Did you ever read Virtues of Selfishness?
Yes, that was the first one I read.
That's a screwed up title for anybody that does not actually read the book. Just
Right.
thinks all that book is actually about selfishness, but doesn't actually
Well,
understand the book.
no, that was her take on altruism. Was
Mm-hmm.
it's really a selfish act because it
Correct.
makes you feel good. And
Yeah.
my counter to that was God wired us for service.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it feels good. When you
Mm-hmm.
serve another, it it feeds your soul the way you were designed to be. And
Absolutely. But I
so
think to your
but
question, I think to your thing about the Bible with dust is I think a lot of it because I mean I'll be upfront. I'm agnostic in the sense of
yeah.
like I'm not an atheist. My take on atheism is it's a religion. If you're gonna fight somebody to the to your eyes go red and your lips go blue that something doesn't exist, then it's the exact same thing that if
Well,
somebody believes it does. So therefore, it is
well,
a religion. I'm
well,
agnostic. Yeah.
the guy that I met on the golf course with that gave me the Bible, he said, "What you're denying exists is an omniscient being. In
Hmm.
order to truly deny that, you yourself have to be omniscient. You have to have an understanding of the entire universe." And he said, "You're not smart enough to be an atheist," which it's an absolute negative. You cannot defend an absolute negative. Even Dawkins backed
Correct.
off and said, "I'm 99.9% sure that there's no God. Maybe there's 1/10 of 1% chance something outside of the earth came and created life." But even then, he backed off. He had to back off. You can't defend an absolute negative.
I heard he said a prayer on his deathbed. No, not
Dawkins?
Dawkins. Not
No,
Dawkins.
Hitchens. Hitchens?
Hitchens.
Well, his brother is a believer. I read his
I
book.
know his
Uh,
brother's
yeah,
an actor, right?
Hitchens?
Hitchens' brother isn't Christopher Hitchens' brother? Act. Oh no,
Peter? No, I
Peter.
don't think so.
He's a celebrity though.
I didn't know that. I know that I read his book, and the thought of the two of them, and they loved each other dearly, which really this culture could learn from that you can live with and love people that disagree
Okay,
with you.
he's a celebrity because he's an author.
Right.
Okay,
And he's Christopher's brother.
and he's a
That helps.
journalist and broadcaster, and he's actually a conservative author.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I heard that Christopher Hitchens actually said a prayer on his deathbed.
Well, it was
You got to
funny.
cover all
Stalin's
your
daughter,
obstacles.
yeah, Stalin's daughter said that on Joe's last act alive was to spring awake on his deathbed, shake his fists at the heavens, and then crash. I'm not going to deny it till the end.
Jesus,
And
Jesus.
my favorite quote, and again, you can, I don't know if it's true. This is anecdotal, but I loved it from Nietzsche, where Nietzsche said, "If I'm right and God is dead in the 19th century, the 20th century will be the bloodiest century in the history of mankind." And boy, was that prophecy. World War I, World War II, Mao, you know, Pol Pot.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it works
yeah.
out well for the huddled masses.
I
You know,
see. Like I'm an agnostic in the sense of like, because I've had this discussion with my parents. I'm the black sheep of the family,
yeah, I
um,
was. Yeah.
and so like I've come to this conclusion. I believe in something. It's
Right.
hard to believe that one religion out of thousands, for one. have it
It's
right.
not. It's well. It's to me. It's not a religion. It's one man. Did Jesus rise from the dead? And if he did, then that's the game changer. It has nothing to do with the religion and the ceremony around it. For me, it was if he rose from the dead, and if you believe that there's a divine mind that put all this together that could work that out in one human being, fix all of the whatever, the broken parts to where he could rise, then it's about a man. It's about him. It's not
Mhm.
about, and believe me, as a Christian, there's a lot to apologize for. I mean, believe me, historically. So we haven't lived it out. I mean, I think Gandhi said it when the Brits had their boot on the necks of the Indians people, India, and Gandhi said, "I love their Christ. I don't care too much for their Christian." So to me, it wasn't about a religion. It was about what it, the, the the resurrection. Period. Paul said it.
I do think
If Christ,
Christianity has been used in terrible ways to do
absolutely,
terrible things.
yeah, in the name of Christ, which
Yeah.
Ravi Zacharias said that no system should be judged by its abuse. So the question is, when a Christian abuses another human being, are they in line with the teachings of Christ? And the answer would be no. So you can't judge the system by the abuse of the system. Now, when an atheist abuses another human being, then yeah, it fits right in there. You know,
But
you
nobody
basically
says, "Oh, you're atheists are so mean."
right. Well, it fits into their. They're not hypocrites.
That's true.
A Christian would be a hypocrite. I
That's
mean,
true.
you certainly can call me out on it. But I also say, don't look at me. Look at him. Look at Jesus. And I try my best. Again, I think maybe Christianity could have learned from the Alcoholics Anonymous. Let's just keep it at the level of press, radio, and films. Let's not share our faith. But something happened 2,000 years ago. Something. Chuck Colson was my favorite testimony. Came out of prison, after the Nixon years, and he was a believer. And they asked him what changed. He said, "I got to prison, and in 3 months I realized if this whole Christianity thing was a conspiracy, somebody would have talked because nobody in prison could keep nobody in prison could keep a secret. So somebody would have talked. So
That's
anyway, that's why and he ended up probably having the most profound impact on the prison system in the world uh,
mm.
uh, because of his faith. And so again, it's to me, uh, you know, you, Kirk, my brother, he looked at me probably. I sat with him about 2 weeks before he died. He was in the hospital with cirrhosis, and I wanted to pray with him, and he said, "You can pray for me." He goes, "I don't get it, bro. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't. I tried, and he did. He tried. You know, went to my uncle, who was a pastor, and he prayed the prayer. He prayed everything. He did everything he thought he could do. And he says, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I believe me, if I could have given it to my brother, I would have. So um, it's a free will choice, and we all have it. But I believe God will honor in the next life what you chose in this one. And if it is a narrow, again, I think what was it, the Pascalian wager? And Pascal made the wager to gamble. Pascal was a big gambler, poker player, and he made the wager to his poker playing buds. He said, "Look, if I'm wrong for my faith, who's been harmed?
Yeah.
For me individually, I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, I'm a
Yeah.
better citizen, I'm certainly a better comic for what I do. And if I'm wrong, I get plunked into the earth and then I'm worm food. What do I know? But
For
if I'm
sure.
right, I get to see my mom again,
For
and
sure.
I get a chance to make some amends to her because I was not a good son."
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm going to live my life as if. That's part of what I learned
Mm-hmm.
in the 12-step program. Fake it till you make it. Live it as if. And I'm trying. But
And that's where faith comes in. That's where
right,
faith comes in, that it doesn't have to it I don't have to prove to you what I
Right,
believe to be real. It's my faith.
right, right.
Um, have you ever walked off stage and felt like, oh, I leaned a little too hard into being a preacher tonight, or the opposite of I
Yeah.
didn't share enough and of what's really changed?
Oh yeah.
What do you learn from those nights, or and how do you deal with those nights?
I let it go. You know, I
Okay,
mean, I can't change again, the devil, you know, I hate to keep saying it because it's the
sure,
subject to so many jokes, but it's like if the devil is the author of lies, so there's times you have to when your brain is chirping to you, you ask yourself, is that the truth? And if you know, did I um not say enough? You know, where's this coming from? You know, what part of me is not satisfied with what I did? There's always questions, you know, and especially working the clubs, you know, I want to walk a fine line. I don't, you know, the book gives me permission, you know.
hmm,
I'm selling a book, and I don't want people buying the book and not knowing that I'm a person of faith
sure.
because they get the book home and then they read it and they
Buyer's
go throw it
remorse.
across
Yeah,
they throw it across the room and they just scream, these Christians, I can't stand them. They're always trying to shove it down my throat. So it gives me permission to at least be honest and open about what's in the book. And uh, I don't. Again, it's first person. If I've had more than one, I've had more than one compliment from atheists. You know, you don't preach. You're entitled to your story and what you believe, and I am. You know, and you know the West, oh, you know this. Our whole civilization was built on a hierarchy of values,
hmm,
and those hierarchy of values come through debate and arguing. And this is my idea for a civil society. Well, I don't think that's good. There's my idea for a civil society. And freedom of religion is is a cornerstone, and that's all religions. Like you
hmm,
said, everybody has a right to believe what they believe,
correct.
and but in that comes the fact that you can't stop other people from believing what they believe, and you live within the context of a value system that was created, you know, by thousands of years of making mistakes and debate and arguing, and they Marxists always want to shut down debate.
Sure.
Libertarians want to debate. You want to debate, man. Yeah,
I
let's
love
go. Give me your
debating. Ask
ideas.
my
I do
parents.
too. Give me your ideas.
Let's
Give me
talk
your
them
ideas.
through.
Yeah,
Let's talk them
yeah.
through. Yeah, no,
And I'll give
I
it a
yeah.
shot. You
I've been
know.
in sales for 25 years. I always tell people there's three professions to never get into shouting or never get into a debate with. Really good attorneys, very skilled comedians, and great salespeople. Because
Right.
our entire jobs are typically to break down whatever it is you're saying and flip it
Right.
around. So I often will get in debates with people, and all I do is just get them angry by asking questions. Well,
Well, that's
what did you? Well, you said, dude, I never gave you my opinion. I've just been
right.
asking you questions for five
Right.
minutes. You're the one
That's what
upset.
Jesus did that with the Pharisees. He always asked questions to get
Hmm.
them to open up their assumptions.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, always follow the question with a question.
absolutely. That's what a great attorney does.
Yeah. Do you
So
not tithe? Do you not give? And he goes, who's on the coin? Caesar. Well, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Give to God. He didn't say it, but give to God what is God. That's your heart. You
hmm,
know. So
if your wife was sitting here on the show with you, how would she finish this sentence? The hardest thing about me married to Jeff back then was.
the rage.
So that
Um,
was so the rage
and the eye
persisted
rolls.
after
I
the
think the eye
alcohol was
rolls.
gone.
Yeah, the eye rolls. You know, she told me this years later. I used to have a 50-pound bag I beat on my porch. I would go out there when this bile would come up, you know, and I would hit that bag until I got exhausted. And she told me 10 years after everything got sane, you know, we were living a really good life. And she goes, "Remember that bag you had out there?" I go, "Yeah, who could forget?" And she said, "Every time you went out to hit it, I thought you were hitting me." And I go, "Holy cow, gosh, no, I was just hitting. I just wanted to hit something."
God, what does
Um,
that make you feel like when you heard that? Like
well, it hurt. It
it's
made
got
me
to take
cry.
your breath away a little bit, right?
It made me cry to think that she lived with that. And she's sitting in the living room while I'm hitting that bag. and she's thinking he's hitting me. He would be doing that to me if he could. And it was like nothing could have been further from the truth. I hit the
Wow.
bag because I didn't want to hit anything else. I just, and I had to. I don't know if anybody, again, people that are listening, you may know that, Rach. You may know what that click, that thing that goes off, and then you're not even in the room anymore. But she said the most hurtful thing I used to do was when she'd say things, I'd roll my eyes. I wasn't even aware of it. It was just a reflex to, oh, here we go. Here we go. It was just dismissing her. She said, you would dismiss me like I was this big. And
Did you
that,
ever
I think
hear
that would, yeah.
did you ever hear Jordan Peterson's explanation of eye rolling?
No, I'd love to hear it. I love him.
He talks about how
He's the one that came up with the hierarchy of values, by the
Mhm,
way. And
mhm.
I heard him talk about it.
He
Yeah.
talks about how eye rolling is essentially slamming your spouse on the ground with every eye roll, because all you're doing is saying, yeah, right, you're full of this, you're full of that, get
Right.
out of here, you're not even saying the right thing. He goes, you might as well just be picking them up and slamming them to the ground, male or female.
Wow. Wow. What a great, yeah.
And I was like, well,
Yeah,
yeah, that
I
makes
was not
sense.
even, I was not even aware of it. And then when she pointed it out to me, I said, holy cow. And I said, I don't do that. She goes, you do it occasionally, you know. And I said, well, that's only when you say dumb things. Oh, I didn't say that. Eh, but
Well,
yeah, I would say that would be the one thing that she would say that um, that was habitually there for probably long after um, everything else had settled down. And I, it would have been nice if she pointed it out to me. I mean, again, I'm telling you, I mean, honestly, I was not even aware. I would just go, you know, God,
it's it's so nonchalant that people don't even.
yeah,
I watch my 4-year old do it to me, and I'm
I
like,
know.
how,
That's
how,
great. That's
right?
great.
You
Yeah.
know, but you know,
You just got out of diapers. What are you judging me?
I'd be like, go get in there and brush your teeth.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
dad
just learned how
again,
to crap in a toilet, for
right?
gosh sake.
You still got to use a filler seat so you don't fall through the hole,
Yeah, and you're rolling your eyes at me.
right? Go get a
But that's what,
job.
Tommy Nelson said it. He goes, for anybody who believes man isn't born with a sinful nature, you never raised children, because that infant that is on his mother's breast, if he had the strength, would have crawled up her chest, grabbed her by the throat, and demanded his milk. He just couldn't do it. Yeah, I love that analogy. I just thought of the whole this little creature coming up and going, I want my milk. I want it now.
It's where aliens comes through.
Right.
You know, give me the milk.
Exactly.
Give me the milk. But so when you start, obviously, did you and your wife come to Christ together, or was she Christian before you?
Well, she was raised. I just interviewed her on my podcast, by the way. Who gave Jeff Allen a podcast? Is my podcast. I just interviewed her, and that came up from one of the fans. We had him ask questions, and her answer kind of it didn't surprise me, but it was years since we've uh, come to our faith. She was raised by Christians that went to Sunday, were one way, and then on Monday they started beating her, and beatings lasted all week, and then they'd go to church and put on their clothes and put on the face, and so she had Sunday Christians and Monday through Saturday parents that were not
Mm.
kind. And so when I told her I'm a born again Christian, she goes, "What does that mean?" And I told her, I said, "I have really no idea. I just heard the phrase born again. I don't even know what that means." But she goes, "What does that mean for me?" And I said, "Nothing. You don't have to come to church with me. You don't even have to believe. I don't, I'm new to this." And by then I'd gone through Buddhism. I'd gone through all this other stuff. So she looked at it as just one more phase. It'll pass. And it's interesting in the scripture where the Pharisees were talking about stopping Jesus. We need to stop this. And one of the Pharisees said, look, if he's who he claims to be, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to stop it. And if he's not who he claimed to be, it'll fizzle out and die like all the other people that claim to be the Messiah. So don't worry about it. Let him go. That's basically it.
It's not
So
gonna
she
hurt
let
you.
me go. Yeah, so she let me go, and it didn't take but 3 or 4 weeks. There was a difference, and one of the main things I think that she saw, I had a terrible car. I had a '88 Olds Cutlass with a bad intake valve that took about 5 minutes to get to 45 miles an hour. And I taught my children in the back seat of the car to wave out the window when people were honking and flipping us off, to go, white trash. We're just white trash. Leave us alone, white trash. So, so anyway, the car broke down, finally died. It just died. And normally that was an invitation for me to break into a self-pitying tirade about why me, these only things happen to me. And everybody braced themselves in the car for me to have a fit. And I stopped, I turned around, and I looked at my son in the back seat. I said, hey, I think I saw a gas station about a mile back. What do you say we go back and see if we can get some help? And Tammy looked at me and said, that's it? And I said, I don't know, it just hit me. Mechanics pray too. You know, it's my turn to donate. It's so funny. The Bible says it. He says, Jesus said before he left, he goes, don't worry about this life. I'll send you a counselor in the form of the Holy Spirit. You'll be able to navigate your way through this life. And I think that's one of those moments where my nature is to just rip the steering wheel out, get out and slam things around. And somewhere inside of me was this new thing that said, hey, I got a mechanic praying, he needs a broken car to pay his rent. So anyway, I said, I pay the mechanic. He comes and sees a comedy show. I goes, it's a really good system we have here. So, but anyway, I think her jaw dropped. She just like, look, wow, who is this man? And it was things like that where the old nature, and then and I wasn't trying to be better. I wasn't trying to not have a fit. It just, I was calmer. That's
Mhm.
all. I was just a lot calmer. Anyway, she came to church, and the first church we went to, we were scared. We didn't want anybody talking about hell, because we realized we might be going there. So I don't want to hear about it. So we walk into this Methodist church, which is really kind of Christian light. And the guy does a sermon. I'm not kidding you. His sermon was on a Peanuts cartoon. On a Peanuts cartoon, he took a Charlie Brown cartoon off the paper and made a moral message out of it. And we were so
Wow.
happy. Wow, this is good. We were nodding our head. Yeah. And the next week we went back. He remembered our names. So that was our church till we moved to Nashville. And but yeah, we were very milky, uh, safe. We know the past we had. Our past precludes us from ever judging anybody's choices.
Mhm.
Uh, and you make your own. Pain is a wonderful motivator. C.S. Lewis said suffering was
Mhm.
God's megaphone. So, God uses your pain to move you to a better place in life. And I can testify to that at 70 years old, that the most painful uh, periods and times of my life have ultimately given me the most fruits, um, ultimately. And again, I wouldn't want to go through it again.
No,
Nobody
because it's only
does.
when you're past it do you realize the fruit that
Right.
came out
You
of
look,
it.
you look back and go, look at the changes we've made. And, yeah, almost losing Tammy
Mhm.
was, and I said it to her. I said, if God had sat you down and said, I'm going to give you 8 years with this man of just absolute hell, but at the end of those 8 years, he's going to, I'm going to introduce him to my son, and you're going to know a man that you never knew could exist. I mean, that man is going to change, and he's going to love you in a way that you didn't think possible. Would you sign on? You go, no. That's why he doesn't tell us their plans, you know.
Yeah,
And why
right.
it took me 8 years, I don't know. I had to exhaust everything that I thought would give me meaning, you know. Uh, and purpose.
It's exception
Before,
too, right? It's
yeah,
accepting that you aren't correct. It's accepting that you might be wrong.
yeah,
It's accepting that you got to give something up to be whole. And I think that's why
yeah,
atheism even exists, because it's people that don't want somebody else driving the car.
yeah. It's interesting. Well, I also believe that there's a spiritual thing, a component to it. There's another side to this equation that's feeding
Well, yeah, you
lies
can't have everyone
to
be
this
Christians. I mean, there's not enough room
to
for
this.
that.
Well, it's not even that. It's just you can't have everybody believe. Because and again, I believe there's a spiritual component to this.
Hmm.
And I believed lies for years. I believe lies about myself that I was worthless and hopeless and useless, and I believe those to my core. Where did that come from? My father never sat me down and said those things. Never. I don't remember my dad ever saying to me, "You're a piece of shit," you know, and that was the voice in my head constantly. And you wonder, somebody once made a joke, but I think it's true. Most people, when they off themselves with a gun, shoot at the head, and I think it's to quiet the voices. I used to do the joke. That's why I got drunk every morning. It was crowd control. Uh, a bunch of stuff going on in here. Shut up!
So
And,
where were you at before moving to the buckle of the Bible Belt?
Arizona.
Oh,
We
oh,
started. We
wow.
started in
Okay.
Boston. We started in Boston. They call them geographical cures. We did those every 3 or 4 years. Our marriage sucked, so we would move in 3 years to another
Oh,
place, and
oh, I get it now. Okay.
yeah, yeah, they call them, you think, well, it's where we're living is the problem. And what a coincidence. We got our life together and we've been in the same house for 28 years. It's not the same house. I mean, every time I see her on Zillow, I go, all right, what will it take to not have to move? You know, uh, I want bathrooms. All right, I'll give you bathrooms. I don't care. I just don't want to move again. I want to die here. You're looking at my mausoleum. This is where I'm going to die, right here. This is my crypt. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, we need to do a Jeff Allen Cribs episode. Let me tell you what. We'll have you come on. Well, Jeff, you had just talked about how you guys would do, what did you call it? Locational fixes?
Oh, geographical
Geographical
cures. So
fixes.
we got married. We went to Boston, and then I got sober in Boston, and realized that I wasn't going to stay sober in Boston. I mean, too
It's a
hard.
drinking
I
city.
loved I loved Boston, but it was, yeah. Even the nuns are trashed constantly. So they're at bus stops just harassing people. No, they're not. It's a joke, Neeley. Don't email me. So anyway, we moved to New Jersey, and then I worked out in New York for 4 years. We went to two different places in New Jersey, and then the first housing collapse. I don't know if you remember that, if you're old enough to remember the '80s housing collapse, Keating and all that. Anyway, my sister called me from Glendale, Arizona, and she said they're giving houses away in Phoenix, literally. So anyway, Tammy flew out on Thursday, signed papers on Saturday. We had our first
Wow.
house. Yeah, and we moved to Arizona. And Tammy hated. I mean, she
Oh,
hated
it's so
Arizona.
hot.
Oh my God.
It's so hot.
I came home. We moved in November, right? So it's beautiful. August, 3 months of summer. I come home from the golf course in a monsoon rain. It is pouring. She's in the driveway, soaked and wet. And I said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "It actually rains in this godforsaken place." So I told our children, "Don't get comfortable in Arizona. I have a feeling we're going to be moving." you
Right,
know?
right.
So
Arizona's
we
hot.
yeah, we made 5 years, and then she came back from Alabama. She showed dogs for years, and she went to a dog show in Alabama in April. Came back and said, "I smelled trees, I smelled flowers, I smelled cut grass. We're moving." And I said, "I'm fine with that, but I'm not going to Ohio, where she was from, and I'm not going to Chicago." So we chose Tennessee. There's an industry in Nashville. I had some friends here. So anyway, we've been here 28 years now. So
Oh yeah. Well, how has this will be the last serious question. I got some fun ones to wrap up the show. How
okay, great.
has forgiveness
About
act
time.
right?
About time. Yeah.
Hey, you do
God.
one of these too.
Yeah.
How has forgiveness actually played out in your marriage and family? And I don't mean the church answer. I want the messy real version. I want the what did it look like on nights when you were both alone with each other and you still hurt and still didn't want to forgive? How did you make that through?
Um, that's a great question. We still have, it's interesting. I just started praying with my wife at night, starting January 1st. I told her we've been talking about it for 20 whatever years. And that is a form of intimacy that, for whatever reason, we just couldn't make it work. I'd get uncomfortable. And then you have arguments, and then you got to pray. And so um, we're a lot quicker to forgive now. We used to sit and stuff for 3, 4 days. And this residual, you're married, so you understand, this residual funk that's in the area. And I'd ask for forgiveness, or you know, um, it was that upbringing. She lived in a home where if you made a mistake, you got beat. So she couldn't ever admit to a mistake.
Mhm.
And I was raised where, like my mom was the peacemaker. I said, I'll admit to the Vietnam War if it gets everybody to get along. I don't care. I started it. Just let's
Mhm.
move on. Let's stop sitting in this stuff. That's a great question. It's not easy. But you also know that without grace, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if she didn't extend me grace.
But
We
do you
would have
guys have
divorced.
do you have off limit topics like you can't bring up old stuff type deal?
Oh, we don't. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's, yeah, because otherwise it'd never end. I mean, I have
Mhm.
a pile of stuff, and again, I remember. Here's one for you. This you'll love this because this is funny. Um, I used to do a lot of cooking in the house, and when I didn't I had shows, but I didn't travel near like I am now. So I'd cook. I enjoy cooking, and I'd go to the bathroom. We're making spaghetti, right? I go to the bathroom. I come back, and she had chopped up onions and thrown it into my spaghetti sauce. I don't want onions in my spaghetti sauce. And I just finally one night I've had enough. I said, "Why is it everything you cook has to be a casserole?" She goes, "What'd you say?" I go, "Casserole. You make casserole. I'm tired of this. I'm tired. You're messing up my food." Okay, a year and a half later. Now remember that. That's 480, what, 547 days later. She makes me some eggs for breakfast. And I said, "Oh, thank you, baby. That looks great." She goes, "Here's your casserole." Holy cow! You've been waiting a year and a half to throw that back at me? Are you kidding me? That was great. I said, "Holy cow, baby, that was good." Made me laugh hard. Made me laugh hard. I
Oh,
said, "That's great."
that is
Yeah.
good. That is good.
So,
That
but yeah,
is
it's
good.
it's
Women don't
there. It's
forget.
yeah, but off. It's funny. I had and I talked about this. This is not. I'm not breaking any news on your show. A number of years ago, I had gotten sideways at some massage parlors, and I remember when I was going to get help for that. Caught it quickly, and I said, so I had to tell Tammy because I didn't want to create a whole new set of lies. You know, I'm going to AA when I was going to SA, and all that. So anyway, I tell her, and she looks at me, and again, I love my wife. She goes, "Hand jobs? Really? That's why?" And I go, "Great question. Great question." I said, "It's dopamine, babe. Dopamine. We're going to get hooked on dopamine." So anyway, and I told her, "You need to put a tracker on my phone. You need to do this." And she said, "I'm not going to be married to a man I can't trust.
Correct.
Fix it. You know how to fix it. Fix it. Do it." So anyway, I do my meetings. I do all my stuff. And, it was just a hiccup in our marriage. And um, God bless her. I mean, she could have, spent the next 2 years living in paranoia or whatever, because I travel. So she could have sat at home and just worried every waking minute that I was gone, that I was doing something I shouldn't be doing, you know. And she said, I know you intimately, and you know, get it fixed. That's all I'm asking. Get it fixed. So it's fixed, you know,
Seems
for
like you
today.
guys went through a lot, but all of that kind of you guys were rawly exposed to each other very early on,
Absolutely. We
and it
two
seems like you guys
broken,
came
broken.
together pretty well.
Yeah, two broken. The way it was explained, it was interesting. My first therapist said to me, when you guys got married, she had her neuroses, which are like say round holes, and you had your neuroses, which are round pegs, and you all of it fit together. And we had a song and dance that we did pretty regularly. I'd screw up and I'd apologize. That was basically our thing. I'd get drunk and do something really stupid and apologize. Do drunk and say things and hurt her and apologize. And then I got into recovery and my pegs got a little oval. As time went on, that round peg didn't fit into that. And she
Mm-hmm.
would push to get the reaction out of me. And I wasn't reacting the way I used to, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so anyway, she's a counterpuncher. Easy. She's an easy woman to figure out. Whatever I give her, she gives back to me in spades. If I love her, respect her, and treat her as a as a cherished person should be, I get treated with love and respect and cherished. So it's real easy for me, you know.
Sure.
I just gotta treat her the way I profess to treat her as a gift, as a helper. You know, if you read Genesis, God gave man, woman to be a helper, to walk alongside, to be one with, and it's not difficult. The rules aren't difficult. Living it is hard at times because I got all that baggage that I had to deal with and stuff. So anyway, uh,
Well, you know, in kind of in here the last 10 minutes of the show, I have some fun questions I wanted to ask you quickly. You often probably get recognized a lot, especially around the Nashville area. What's one of the funniest, I think I know you from somewhere type of reactions you've had off stage?
that's kind of what I get mostly is that
Oh,
they recognize me. But it's one of those like, do you do comedy? I go, yeah. Oh, you're the guy, you know. And it's from the voice more
yeah.
than the face. I was at a golf course. I yelled at a friend of mine, you know, moron. And some guy goes, holy cow, moron, you're the guy. You're the guy. It's everybody's a moron, you know. And my favorite are when the little kids, the young kids, because I work clean, so families can watch what I do, you know. And the humor is about relationship and marriage and whatever. You know, the kids I don't think under, but I did talk a lot about teenagers years ago because I had teenagers. So there were, but watching the little kids because they see it, you know, they've seen you on the screen, you know, and they hide behind their parents' leg and you know, they don't know how to take you, you know, because you're there in person. So, but it's it's a nice feeling. I'm not at a point I can't stand these celebrities that complain about their poor miserable
Oh my
life because
gosh, I hate
it
that.
drives me insane. Then go away,
I
you
hate
know.
that. Or
You will be
celebrities that don't stop to say hi to somebody. It's 2 seconds of your life. You make
right,
a long lasting influence on that. It's one of the things I love about
right.
Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know if you've ever seen his videos.
Oh, yeah,
So there was this
yeah,
video of this little Asian boy. I think he was doing like some sort of an Asian tour somehow. And I'm only saying that because it was all Asians around, and then there was him. And it's very easy to tell because everybody's half his size, right? And this little boy runs up to him and just grabs his leg, and this other guy comes up quickly and like takes the little boy away. And Shaq turns around and goes, "No, no, come here, come here."
yeah,
Gives the kid
yeah.
a hug and takes a picture with
Ah,
him. And then you see
that's a
stuff like LeBron, like, "Oh, get away from me! Oh, get away from me!"
right,
Oh, dude, then don't be famous.
right. Well, give it up. Because believe you know what they say at your funeral. I think it was Mark Twain. They will lament you for an hour and forget you for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So celebrity, leave the business, quit. They'll
Mm-hmm.
lament you for an hour, you know, an hour, and they'll forget you for a lifetime. Belushi died, they didn't stop making comedy movies.
Mm-mm.
You know,
I
they mourned him, and that was it.
They
They just went
probably
on with
released a
life.
new movie the Thursday he died the week of.
Right. And when I'm dead and gone, I hope to leave behind a body of work that like Woody Allen did with his stand up. His stand up is today still strong. I hope to leave behind a body of work. We're doing a television show based on the book. We're taping in March, and I hope that's my final body of work that we put together for 3 or 4 years. A really good dramedy with good stories that people relate to and entertain them. You know, but I'm the last guy to leave my show. When I first started comedy, I wouldn't go out and talk to people. I didn't want to be around people, which is odd because you do what you do. And my manager will tell you, man, I'm the last guy to leave. I sit out there, I shake their hands, I take pictures with every night. And it gets exhausting at times when it's 50, 60 people in line to want to take pictures.
Oh yeah.
But I am so grateful that they got in their car, they spent their money. I know what it takes to earn
Hmm.
money, and to spend it on a ticket for me. And I give them an hour and a half show, hour and 15 to an hour and a half. I don't do 35, 40 minutes. A lot of them do. I don't. I have an opening act that does 15. I do 75 to 90. And, I want them to feel like they got their money's worth. And then at the end, I'll go out and, sell books, sign books, and take pictures. And, it's, I am so grateful for where I'm at in life right now, because the movie didn't look good 40 years, 30, 40 years ago. Didn't look that good.
But you played the long game.
I did. You know what? This is the way I did an interview. I think it was with Glenn Beck. I used to do some work with him. So when I got the book out, Beck interviewed me, and he was the one that told me about the flashes of brilliance and everything. But anyway, he said to me when I sat down, he goes, "What's it like at this age?" And I said, "Wonderful, because when it ends, I can retire." You know, I mean, yeah, when it ends, I'm done.
With all your decades of being in clubs and standing on a stage, what's something that sticks out with you that it was a tough time to keep a straight face or finish a bit that you saw in the crowd?
Oh gosh, New Year's Eve, I'll never forget this. I worked 18 straight, 20 straight New Year's Eves. I was always working New Year's Eve. And one night, again, this is sadistic, but I'm sorry, it's just hysterical. I'm watching some guy chirping in his date's ear, and I'm just watching the tears and the mascara stream down her face.
Oh.
And I just started laughing. I go, "I bet you didn't think this was the way the evening was going to go, did you, ma'am?" You know?
Did they get a response?
Yeah, the guy flipped me off, and it was, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it was, but yeah, I'll never forget that. That was, I mean, front row, front right there, and he is just jump, 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 and she's just crying. I don't know what he's saying, but it's probably not, "You're beautiful. I love you. Thank you for coming out tonight. Let's bring in the new year and let's have many more happy New Years together."
What a place to break up at, right?
I know. And then
Whew.
the other one was, I was telling Tammy the other night, I'm going back to a club I have not worked since the 90s, in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm going to Charlie Goodnight's. And the last time I was there in the 90s, some kid comes up to me and he said, "You're closing the show." I said, "I am." He goes, "Would you mind if I brought my girlfriend up and proposed?" And I said, "Oh man, that'd be cool, man. I do a lot of marriage stuff, so it'll be great." He asked her to marry him in front of 400 people, and the girl goes, "No, I'm not marrying you." Oh, oh, there wasn't a hole big enough for that boy to crawl into. And I had one other guy in 30 years ask me if I would let him, and I said, "Are you positive she's going to say yes? Because if you have a hint of doubt, don't do it. Don't do it,
Wow.
man." Yeah, can you
Yeah.
imagine?
Ooh.
Talk about, you know,
Oh, talk
and
about kicking the
the
schnuts.
way she said it, "I'm not marrying you. What, you crazy?"
Oh, talk about kicking the
No.
schnuts. Oh,
Yeah.
God. Well, what's a bigger compliment for you to hear? You made me laugh until I cried, or your story made me call my family on the way home?
You made me laugh till I cried. I that's what I'm here for. I'm a clown, you know. When COVID was going on, there were clubs that were open in Texas and Florida and stuff, and I would go down there, and they were only allowing 25% capacity. I just wanted to get out and work, you know, and I'd have husbands come over to me, you know, and just say again, I told you this earlier, you know, it's the first time I've heard my wife laugh, you know, I
Mhm.
mean, and my husband, you know, he was going through cancer, and we were playing your videos every day, and it made a tough time a little bit easier. That means so much to me. And then in
Mhm.
the end, you know, if you hear my story, and I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of messages from people over the years that you brought me back to my childhood faith. And I say I didn't, but God did. God brought you back. You remembered, you know, that part of you, you know, and that means a lot. You know, I hope, you know, I'm not sure this will work out, but I hope that when I'm done, and Jesus says to me, you know, well done, good and faithful servant. You know, I'd love to hear those words from him, but I think he put me here to make people laugh, and that means a ton to me, man. That's There's nothing like it when it's rolling and it's rocking, and there's nothing like it when it's going bad.
Oh
It's
yeah.
you can't hide. You cannot hide anywhere in that. I used to tell the story about flop sweat. When I did America's Got Talent, I was choking for the audition. I was choking like just terrible, and I started flop sweats. That you sweat under the arms, and then one bead drip breaks free and starts going down. And you can feel it because it's 10 degrees cooler than your body temperature. As it slides into the top of your underwear, you know, it's kind of a metaphor for your career as it slips into the trade, you know. So yeah, you can't nothing like flop sweat, man. It's cold, clammy, and you can't go anywhere. You got to finish your time. You can't just go, well, I'm done. Thank you. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I hit mute because I was coughing. So
No.
that was you actually answered my last question I was going to ask you for tonight. Before I even asked you. So for the last 3.5 years, I've been asking people. Took a question from inside the actor studio, James Lipton, and can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, and it
Yes.
was what do you want to hear when you go to when you meet your creator at the pearly gates? So since you
Well done.
answered that preemptively, and it's so fitting that this question that I thought of this question here since we talked about you filming, if you could jump, and this will be the last one on the show, if you could jump into any classic TV sitcom, family, and live there for a week, what show would it be? Why are you picking
The honeymooners.
it?
Ralph Cramden was my dad. He was everybody's dad. Yeah, I would that or the All in the Family. So, but yeah, the honeymooners. I loved the way they argued. You
Oh,
know, bang,
that's
zoom to the moon. Nobody ever in their right mind thought that he was going to lay a hand on that woman.
mm-mm,
Ever. You know,
mm-mm.
but you got the frustration. You understood the frustration. And yeah, I love the honeymooners, man.
Well, Jeff, I hope this was fun for you. I hope this was
It was.
questions that didn't bore you. I really appreciate the time, and
Well, I hope you do because 2 hours is that's a big check. I just want you to know it's going to cost you, man. And
hey, well,
I,
we got
I'm
the
coming
dinner.
out
We
there and
got the dinner.
I'm getting a steak dinner. I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
I've
steak
got the
dinner.
guy that's gonna take you out,
That's great.
and we'll use his card. So that was
That's even better.
the funny thing was is that when I told my parents
For
about
a
this.
libertarian, that's awful Marxist of you, bud.
Hey,
You
he
know.
offered. He offered. It's not like I said, "Hey, if I can get Jeff to go to
Yeah,
dinner, you want to take him out?" No,
yeah,
he actually offered.
yeah.
But the funny
Yeah,
thing is, I
that's
told
great.
my mom, I was like, should I only ask Jeff for like an hour? Because this is like a set for him to go two
Yeah,
hours. So, but Jeff, in all honesty, truly appreciate you. Stick around for the end of the show here, real quick. But thank you so much.
thanks.
And I really
And
appreciate
not
how
one
open you are.
cigar. It's the
Oh
Rocky Mountain
man,
Cigar Show, and I
dude,
don't smoke it. I would have puffed one, but I don't smoke them.
I
So
was,
I
as you saw, every single time I laughed, I coughed insanely. So it was
but
bad.
I'll give you the whore-like nature of my existence. If you want me to say I
Yeah.
smoke some cigar, I'll say it. I don't care, you know. Give me a brand. Give me a brand. You know.
I actually talked about sending you a couple just to hold in your hand while you were on the show. Um,
Yeah.
but so, anyways, Jeff, from the bottom of my heart, brother, I'm so excited to be able to meet you here in March. And
Yeah.
for everybody that would like to see where Jeff will be, go to jeffallencomedy.com. He's coming to a
Yeah.
venue near you. The next 80 dates are up. Hope you all enjoyed the very first show of the year. And thank you for being part of that, Jeff. And until we see you all
Thank you.
again, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can, and have a great